2025 Classical Foundations Program Lecture. Our speakers are Marina Davidovich and her daughter, Mariana Davidovich. We also welcome a special guest, Adam Kissel, to our campus. Mr. Kissel is the chairman of the West Virginia Professional Charter School Board, a trustee of the University of West Florida, and the former Deputy Assistant Secretary for Higher Education Programs at the U.S. Department of Education. Marina Davidovich escaped communism and anti-Jewish persecution and emigrated to the United States from the Soviet Union in 1976. She graduated from Kiev State University in Ukraine with a degree in physical culture and sports. She and her husband Felix became entrepreneurs and had one of the largest and most successful gymnastics schools in America. Marina was a USA national team coach from 1980 to 2004. She represented the USA at 3 World Championships, 2 Olympic Games, and numerous international rhythmic gymnastic competitions. Her daughter, Mariana Davidovich, is an education entrepreneur, author, and has written extensively on school choice with a focus on classical liberalism, the philosophy of the American founding, and the strategic expansion of a competitive marketplace of education in the United States. She has been published in the American Spectator, the Foundation for Economic Education, and the Educational Freedom Institute. And her new book, The Buried Stories of Communism and Socialism, an historical primer and contemporary analysis, was recently launched on Amazon. Mariana served as a Russian instructor for the U.S. Air Force Intelligence and holds degrees in Communications Applications Technology, Russian Studies, and an MBA in Entrepreneurship. This spring lecture is part of our Classical Foundations program, which is guided by a national board whose members include Mariana Davidovich, and whose mission is to provide students, faculty, and community leaders with a deeper understanding of local history as well as the nation's founding principles and their application to modern life and society through historical and economic works that are part of the school's curriculum and through a series of academic events. Please join me in welcoming Marina Davidovich and Mariana Davidovich. And we'll begin by showing a video in which Marina Davidovich tells her story. Mrs. Welch, could you please turn off the light? Thank you.
It's really hard to explain, but the way of living is so different. It's so primitive. So when I came here and I saw all these things, like, wow! It's like coming from 18th century to 21st century. Memories, I would probably say about when I was 5. We lived in small, damp basement, just being in this condition all the time. I was always sick. About 11 families lived on the first and second floor, and the family from my grandma and grandpa were giving a cellar, and you don't choose where you live, you just live where you are told to live. Now, when I would go and visit our neighbors upstairs, it was horror for me. If you imagine a 2-bedroom apartment, so one room is occupied with one family, the other room is occupied with completely strangers that constantly they fight for the placing in the kitchen, who's going to go, who is not going to go. So to me, I was very happy because we lived just our little family by ourselves. One of the most difficult times in the 60s when there was complete shortage of food. people were hungry, and every time it's like, Mom, I'm really hungry, just go to bed, go to sleep. You'll feel better in the morning. There was nothing. We didn't have bread, we didn't have sugar, we would drink some just hot water. We were always hungry. So one of my best friends, or that I thought so at that time, her name was Olga, her father he was in government. I would go and visit her very often because I would help her with homework. And I would go to her place and like, whoa, she had her own room. They had a big kitchen, and the kitchen was fully stacked. It was everything you wanted it. And I would come home and say, why is Olga has all this stuff? And we don't. And my mom would just, that's the way it is. Just shh, shh, shh. Do not ask questions. So even back then, I started like thinking like something doesn't compute. The socialism is everybody's equal, everybody's even, but was it really equal? They were under strict rules to teach certain things. So they were really big on mathematics, on chemistry, and physics. But we also had subjects like Marxism, Leninism, history of the Communist Party. So this was all propaganda that was fed into us without even knowing that it was a propaganda. It was way of life.
At an early age, the Russian child is taught to think of himself as primarily part of a group. While they may play games, there's a purpose for everything. And physical training is an important part of the program.
I was in the 2nd grade when our PE teacher, he had 10 of us taking to it's called Children's Sports School. And he said, you and you and you and you, are going to do gymnastics. And you and you and you are going to do swimming. So they pretty much decide for you, what you're going to do. So I started taking gymnastics. I really liked it. Sometimes we even did pretend gymnastics class. And we just gather all the kids, boys, girls, and then we just pretend I'm a gymnastics teacher. So I think I was a gymnastics teacher even before I knew it. When you are in the 3rd grade, when you're about 9 years old, you become pioneer. And you're given this, it's red, it's a black and white, but it's red tie. And you wear it everywhere you go. So this one is, you all lined up and your teacher or the principal or anybody will say, are you ready? And you have to say, always ready. You're ready to serve your party, you're ready to serve your country, you are ready to do anything they ask you to. We're kids, we have no idea, but we're so proud. You are taught to conform. It stripes you from any kind of dignity, any kind of ability to dream. It is all face of socialism. We had information, and they all came from the same source, from the Communist Party. And the only thing in the newspapers are how great socialism is, how wonderful people live, how happy everybody is. And look at these capitalists. Oh my God, they're dying. They are nothing but kill people and use people. And we are such a happy nation. And you go outside and all you see is darkness and unhappiness. And like, where's that country? I would like to live there. We met, I knew of him, but we actually met a little bit later in life. I came to Kiev and we went steady, as we say here. He started listening to Voice of America, and it was illegal. If he would get caught doing that, that would be a big problem.
Each morning at 9 o'clock, the overnight express from Vienna makes this unpublicized stop 40 miles north of Rome. From 3 rear coaches, it disgorges upwards of 150 Jewish refugees from the Soviet Union. These refugees have refused to go to Israel, where entry is guaranteed. They come instead to an improbable clearinghouse for those who dream of a new life in America.
I think that America is a beauty country, and I hope that in America I will have perfect work for my family.
He started telling me that, listen, we have no future here. Well, what do you think about leaving the Soviet Union and going? I said, going where? He says, I don't know. America. Like, you're kidding. America. You know, those are, monsters that live there. No, and I can't leave my family. No, 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 no. The reason I was scared is of unknown. No matter how bad it is here, at least I have my mom, my dad, all my friends. He came back and said, fine, we're not going to go anywhere. It's fine. We're going to do it your way. I think it will be easier for me to tell this story, why I changed my mind. So when we got married, we lived back to the communal living. And for us, in order for us to be together, we stayed on this little futon, which was in the corridor. I had a baby, and I was preparing dinner. So I put the baby right on that futon that my husband and I shared. My husband, Felix, he came home, he picked up the baby, and he came to say hello, kiss me in the kitchen. And maybe not even 4 seconds, it was like 3 steps, the big, huge chunk of the ceiling just fell down right where she was sleeping not even seconds ago. And that's when I realized that there's nothing that will be good for us here. We knew Iron Curtain, what it means. And I thought back then that it was only, you can't go, you can't leave the country, you cannot get a document to leave the country. There's a little tiny crack in the Iron Curtain, and the only way you could leave, if you're Jewish, you could join your family in Israel. We did receive an invitation, which was, it's a miracle. With this invitation and all your documents, you go to organization called Avir. It's the office that grants you the exit visas. You have to go to that place pretty much every day and say, how is it? Am I, do I have an answer? There's no telephone calls, there's no emails, there's no text, and that's what my husband did. He would go pretty much every day to see if we have the documents or not. So as soon as you give them your information and your application, you are pretty much announcing to the whole world that you are about to leave. And that puts you in the situation that you are the enemy of a state. If you would be refused the visa, for whatever reasons, they don't even give you the reasons, you call it refusing. And that means your life is over. You have no job, they can take your place where you live away. You're in jeopardy, pretty much, when you announce to everybody that you want to leave. My best friend at that time, she put in the mailbox many pictures of us, but she cut out herself out of it. And it was like a big, in my heart. So one day in June, he called us when I was in Vinnytsia and said, we got it. We got visas. And then you have 10 days to get out. Or then visa is not valid. You have to buy tickets, you have to go to the bank and exchange the money, you have to say goodbye to all people that you love, that you may never see again, and you have 10 days to do that. So with this little piece of paper, we were able to escape the Soviet Union. We were able to leave. And every time I look at it, I tear up. we're in Mariana, in the airport, waiting for our escort to come. And I take the baby and I go to the bathroom. And what do I see? It's it's heaven on earth. It's white, it's beautiful. The mirrors, toilet paper, the toilet paper. So the first thing I do, I roll the toilet paper on my arm, like a lot. A lot of toilet paper on my arm. Like, you don't understand, it's a toilet, and it's soft. My second sign was the grocery store. The sights, the smells. It was shock. It was a shock to see how people have this all the time and they don't think it's anything special. If this is the sign that that's what the Western civilization, dying Western civilization is like, I think we're going to make it. My specialty was rhythmic gymnastics. It's hoops, ribbons, clubs, balls. When I came here, nobody knew what it was. Very few people knew what it was. And I tried to explain, so I had to show her. I became one of the top coaches immediately, pretty much in the first nationals. I was watching my boss running business. And my husband was watching our boss running this business, and we can do better than that. But keep in mind that my education was anti-business. Business is bad. So we had to go through that concept and say, business is not bad. Business is actually good. You know, so we ended up going to Orange Park, Florida, which is like Jacksonville area. And the gentleman there had gymnastics school. He moved to Chicago and he says, hey, you guys want to buy it? Like, yeah, we'll buy it. So we bought it. And that's how we started our business, a United Gymnastics Academy. I produced many national team members, girls that represented on Olympic Games, the World Championships, traveled all over the world. I loved it, loved every moment of it. And that's what people say, if you love what you do, you never work a day of your life, and that's how I feel. I saw coaches from Russia, from Ukraine, and they were full of questions, always asking me, just tell me the truth. I said, well, here's the truth. We are so lucky and so blessed here with all the problems that we have. We can talk about it. We can talk about the problems, and that's the difference that from the country I came from, we can talk about the problems because there were no problems. It's nothing more precious than seeing your family being happy and having opportunities and have a choice. Freedom of choice, it's everything.
This watch, please.
Grab this stool. Enjoy it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's working. Thank you so much. We are so honored to be here. We had an amazing morning with the students. Just so grateful to be here. Sorry. That video makes me so upset every time, so.
And
Mom, why don't you start? Sorry.
While you're composing yourself, this video,
It was reenactment, of course, you understand, and the apartment that they showed is much nicer than we had. The kitchen was much, much nicer than we had. If I would explain to you exactly our situation in the kitchen, you would probably not believe me. So it was they couldn't get anything worse. They thought that was the worst, but it was very, very nice.
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Take over.
I'm Mariana Davidovich, and it really is my honor to be doing this, telling my family story and working in education. I've been doing this for over 30 years, not exactly this, but in education for over 30 years since I was in the military as a curriculum development. And I couldn't understand what could be more important than developing products and programs that could help for the future of education. So that's why we're here. So a lot of people, especially students, don't know the history of the Soviet Union. And the reason I start with this slide is because CCCP, SSSR, stands for USSR. Just think to yourselves what that stands for, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there. So there it is. It's the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. There were 15 of them, and what I want to point out in this slide is look at the dates. This was not ancient history. This is recent, and I was born during this time. We lived through this. So I just wanted to point that out, especially when working with kids. They need to understand the relevancy of what it is that we're discussing. So just a little bit of background. I like to start out by talking about Karl Marx. He argued capitalism would create inequalities, leading to a class struggle. The ideology includes just a few things that I'm going to cover. Encourages socialism and the erosion of private property. Incites division among the population, as we see today, oppressors versus the oppressed. And dictator of the proletariat, which is the working class, and they would hold political power. Of course, Lenin takes after Marx and the Bolshevik Revolution, which I'm sure you are all familiar, but just to briefly go over, he implemented the dictatorship of the proletariat. He installed a one-party socialist state, seized the means of production, nationalized industry, and established a near-total command economy. So the thing I just want to point out, because we are short on time, private property and private enterprise was completely banned. Labor was forced and there was strict discipline. There was no peaceful assembly. The same people that this was supposed to help, the strict discipline was imposed on those very same people. So the last thing I want to point out here is we're going to talk about the rationing of food, but also crops were requisitioned. And we're going to talk about Holodomor just for a second because many educators are not familiar with this. My mom took me and my sister in 2018 to Ukraine to show me where I was born, and we stumbled upon this museum, the Holodomor Museum, which I had never heard of. And I went through the public school system. There wasn't any world history books. It's one of the stories that I have in this book that I think some of you are going to receive. But there were between 4 and 10 million people, mostly in Ukraine, that were murdered during Stalin, who took over after Lenin, during his 5-year plan, 1932-1933. So this was a mass murder through starvation. About 17 people died per minute, 1,000 per hour, 25,000 per day. I know it's hard to comprehend. 3 million plus children were the victims. You may have heard of kulaks. Those were the farmers who resisted collectivization. If they resisted, they were usually shot. Doctors, and this is the most interesting to me, they were not allowed to put starvation on the death certificates. So ask yourself why. Cover-ups. So any mention of the word famine was a crime against the state. So one of the resources I recommend is to watch the movie Mr. Jones that came out in 2019. Excellent film. And it's a true story about Walter Duranty, who received a Pulitzer Prize, by the way, for the misinformation. And it's the story of Gareth Jones. So I highly recommend that. So just to kind of summarize, we were born in the USSR. There was no private property, no individual rights, no freedom of religion, a corrupt justice system, and no freedom to leave the country. So at this point, I just would love for you, Mom, to talk a little bit about what we see here and why could we not just leave if it was so bad?
I'll try to be, very precise because I was told by my daughter I talk too much. So, but there's a lot to say and I would like a lot to share. So the first one, the green one, is the свидетельство о рождении. This is your birth certificate, which is usually, it says your name, your given name, your parents' name, and it also says that your nationality, еврейка, which means Jewish. And there was no reason, because we were born in the same place at the same time, we spoke the same language, we did not practice any religion, but yet some people were Jewish and some people Ukrainian, some people were Russian. And that was not, we could not understand, but it was much more difficult to be Jewish at that time. The reason we could not leave the country because of the Iron Curtain, nobody can leave. It's one of those, everybody can come in, but nobody did. But nobody can leave. How wonderful socialism is that everybody wants to leave and nobody wants to come in. Just why is that happening? Well, they wanted to keep everybody in so they will not go and say how bad things are. And if you are going, for example, somebody wants to cross to Poland or to other countries through, they're shot on the spot. The only way to leave the country is to get an exit visa that you have to go through a government agency and explain why you want to go. And nobody was given permission to go. The only people that traveled abroad were Communist Party leaders. They were chosen KGB agents that would probably be with somebody who went abroad. And I know that there was a lot of times that people would see the Russian circus, famous Russian circus, or symphony, or ballet. They were magnificent because they were state-sponsored and because they were the face of the Soviet Union, how grand and beautiful they are. But for every artist that was, or maybe for every two artists, there was one KGB agent watching where you go, who do you talk to, and you're not allowed. And if you take pictures where you're not supposed to, it was confiscated. So it was kept, nobody could go, nobody could leave. There was no freedom of just leaving the country, forget about it. There's no way. But I just want to go just a little bit more. Not only you didn't have freedom of leaving the country, you had to leave. If you will show, is there a passport there?
It's a bit further.
It's a little bit further. You were given a stamp where you live,
Oh,
where
there it is.
you're. Yeah. No, this is my exit visa. No, that's not it.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Disregard.
So in your passport, which is your national ID card, you have to have with you all the time. On the third page, it's a stamp from the police station with your address. And if you caught and say, give me your address, give me your passport, and you are in the wrong city, you get arrested. If you go to visit your cousin in Odessa, for example, who went to visit, you have to go to the police station and say, I'm here to visit. So they would give you a little extension. The only ones that were able to leave and change the place where you live is when you get married, and if the head of household will allow you to do it, or if you're a student. When I went in Kiev from my city, Vinnytsia, I went to Kiev, they gave me as a temporary place of living. So I had temporary permission to be in Kiev. But after that, I had to go back. So that's your freedom.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in the basement apartment where you lived?
So we lived in the building that belonged to, before the revolution, belonged to a doctor. And he had a basement where they kept probably their supplies for the winter, potatoes, beets, and the first floor and the second floor. It was a really nice building, not big, but really nice building. So after the revolution, of course, it was appropriated, and we were given, my family, my grandma and grandpa were giving the basement apartment, which was not livable. It would not pass the code here. It was the condensation would be, forming on the ceiling and drop. The mold was there, and my grandma covered it with a carpet that's supposed to be on the ground. They put it on the wall. There was one tiny room where my grandpa and grandpa slept, and it was no windows, nothing. It was right there. We had our living room / dining room / family room that's turned into a bedroom, because I slept on the cot. My sister slept with me, and my mom and dad slept on this like sofa type thing.
Would you say because of these living conditions, you were
I was
a
very
sickly
sick
child?
all the time. I was very, very sick. On this picture, this is our bed. This is the yard. Like the building is here, and the yard is right there. It's been like this, and those are people. They kept their like supplies, like potatoes, and everybody had a little bit of a storage space. So that's me on the right. I'm 6 years old. I just came from the hospital where I spent 1 month. It was exactly 30 days. I was diagnosed with typhus. They cut my hair. They were pretty much abusing me. Every day they would give me some kind of shot. I was hiding. They were trying to catch me. I was crying every day. No parents. I mean, I was by myself, 6 years old. When I came back, my grandma tried to nourish me up a little bit, and I was, no, that's a little bit too fast. Let's go back. So this is very normal. This is communal living. So we lived down in the basement, which was just our family. Communal living, that's exactly what it is. Each door represents a different family. So your family lives with this family and this family together. You don't know each other. You hate each other because you're taking my space. You're making noise. You are, you can only imagine how much hatred was there, and they tried to do everything possible to make each other unhappy. And they were waiting for them to die, because if they died, they could take over that apartment. But yeah, that was very ugly living. This is the day when we actually sent out our information. I was so scared. I don't remember why this, I think my mom took this picture. But
You did not look happy in this picture.
no, I didn't know what to think, because the only thing I was thinking is, how do we keep it quiet so nobody will know? But oh my goodness, everybody knew next week. Next week, everybody knew.
Who's the little baby? So cute.
That's you.
Oh,
She was the cutest baby, that's for sure.
I like this quote, though. Living enslaved under communism and anti-Semitism was not living at all. It was merely struggling to survive. So there's a difference between living and surviving. And that's what a lot of Americans and people in Western societies don't understand. And it's not their fault. The only way you understand it is to live it, or the best we can do is storytelling, which is why we're here today. So there are a few other things I want to get through. So propaganda is a big one. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of propaganda? And the video mentioned a little bit, but
yeah,
please.
the propaganda. You don't know it's a propaganda. That's your way of life. Ever since you're born and you go to a daycare, the portraits of Lenin and at my time there was no more Stalin. So Stalin was in 56, I think, but he was pronounced that he's a villain all of a sudden. So when my sister went to school, it was Lenin and Stalin. When I went to school, Stalin was gone from everywhere. And, you're told how lucky you are that you live in this beautiful country where everybody's happy. We were singing songs how happy we are. We were singing songs how proud we are. But it's not only what we see visually. All the newspaper came from the same source. It was only two newspapers, big, Izvestia, which means news, and Pravda, which means truth. But they did the same thing. I mean, it was the same thing. And then, of course, they had smaller papers in each town, but similar to the same thing. All the movies, all the songs, all the stories, all the books, they were they had to go through a censorship. And some of them were just crossed out what you cannot say. The movies were coming from the West, they were also censored. But we still could see, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie A Man and a Woman. It's a French movie with a beautiful music. You should, it's very simple story. A man meets a woman, he's a race driver, music is beautiful, and the only thing we saw, why are they so unhappy? They have this beautiful apartment, they have a car, they have food. Why are they unhappy? Why are they making, such a love story? Like, what? They have stuff, they have clothes. We saw the movies that you saw differently. We just, how could this capitalism that's supposed to be dying, how is it everybody looking so nice? And why can't we look so nice? For women, like women here, let me just tell you one little thing. The mascara we had was so gross. It was a little box. You had to spit in it. And then you push a little brush. And sorry, guys, I'm sorry. And then you have to put this on. And then you have to take a needle and separate your lashes. So the first time when we went to Vienna and I saw the mascara, I said, I will give anything just to have that little tube. I wanted it so badly. I'm moving away, sorry. So propaganda. Propaganda.
Maybe in the video they touched upon a little bit, and when you mentioned how the West, everybody's a monster and it's horrible.
Oh,
and then
I thought that all Americans have a tail and horns.
I guess
For sure.
I want to get into the food part of things. We don't have much time left, but whenever there was a line, Mom would race to get into that line.
Not just Mom, everybody. If you walk down the street and you see the line, it is a mandatory, unless you are, going somewhere that's very important, meeting or something, I don't know. You get in line and you tap on the shoulder the person in front and say, excuse me, do you know what they give? Like, I don't know, chicken. And then they go to the next one, excuse me, do you know what they give? Oh, I think shoes. We don't know, we're just staying in line. You're staying in line when you get to the front and you say, what do you have? They say, we have shoes, size 39. I'm like, oh, I need 36, but I'll take it anyway. You never knew what they give and or sell. It probably was some extra. But the worst part of it, which made us all so very angry once we crossed the border, when we were in Italy, when people told us, there were plenty of food, there were plenty of clothes, there were plenty of everything, but they were in the warehouses. And only special people could go into the warehouse and get what they wanted. Regular folks, like, not so much.
Party members, elite
Party
class.
members, elite, friends, family. I wish I could tell you more. There was a very famous comedian, Arkady Raikin. I don't know if Misha knows. He did a lot of sketches, and he was the only one that could say things and not get hurt. But maybe he did get hurt. I don't know. But he was comedian, and like you have jester, they can say anything you want to the king. Well, that was him. And it was like, you're right. He says it's so true, but it was supposed to be funny. It wasn't funny. I do remember myself being hungry many, many nights, and my mom would just say, just go to bed, just go to sleep. You're not going to be hungry, it's okay, just go to sleep.
Well, if you maybe you caught it, maybe some of you missed the video, but that baby that was almost killed was me.
Yeah.
So that's when, and this was our exit visa. That's how old I was. We don't have time to go through all this, but basically we came with almost nothing, just a couple $100. I was the baby, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, and that was it. And then you had 10 minutes to get all your things together, and this is a list of what we brought, which is like almost nothing.
Yeah, some dishes, some books.
So just really quickly, you understand that why we left. Only a small percentage of people were able to escape. about 25% to go to Israel for family reunification. Now we detoured, we did not go to Israel, we were dropouts of the program, ended up in Ostia de Lido in Italy, and this is where we were kind of stuck for 7 months waiting for a sponsor.
9 months.
9 months,
We
not
waited
7
for
months.
who
9
would
months.
sponsor us because we did not have any family. But if you go back to that,
Yeah.
jeans.
Yeah. First jeans. It was our first family
Even
jeans
the
photo.
baby, even the baby had
It's a big
jeans.
deal.
Jeans. It was 10 milliliter. I remember that because it was.
Yeah.
But I wanted jeans so badly. If I would have jeans in Soviet Union, I would be a millionaire because that would a hot cake right there.
Yeah.
I would sell them.
Yeah, and I wish we had more time.
We're
but,
in Hartford, Connecticut. We came in January 16th, 1976. Elizabeth, my first American citizen, was born in Mount Sinai Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut. And we lived in Hartford for 2 years.
I want to say one other thing, just really quickly. I loved how the Jewish community in Hartford threw my parents a wedding. That's me at their wedding because they didn't have a
Well,
wedding
you know,
certificate.
religion is not, it was not allowed at
Right.
all. It was not allowed. So when we came here and they asked us if you have Jewish wedding, I said, what's a Jewish wedding? I don't know a Jewish wedding. You know, we have huppah and you step on the glass. I'm like, no. So they really gave us a real, look, this is the beautiful dress. And when my husband stand and said, you know, Mazel Tov, and he says, is this an egg? I said, no, it's a glass. You have to really step on it. And we were featured in the local newspaper and the television, and it was lovely. But this is also
Basically,
interesting.
my dad refused to take welfare because he knows once you're in a welfare system, it's really difficult to break out, and he just wanted to get a job, just wanted to work. So,
No, when he looked at the lines, he says, no, it's just like Soviet Union.
and he
We're
says,
not.
only in America can people start with nothing and build something. It's a glorious thing. That's what my dad said. And then I would just really love, to me and to anyone that hears these stories, they're really taken by the fact when my mom and dad first walked into a grocery store, how it was incredibly overwhelming. And I have this little picture up here because my mom almost fainted, literally.
No, I did. No, I was crying. I had like,
Yeah.
hysterically crying. And
Because you
it's-
were always taught this was fake.
It's a fake. Yeah, they said this is not true. This is absolutely. But when you see this abundance and beauty of all the products and fresh meat and coffee, that was something else. And when we walked in the store, the name of the store was Leo. It was in Vienna. I was there. I don't know for how long, but I was standing there and crying and did not believe this. And all the workers, they didn't pay attention, because I guess it was a usual thing for the Russian immigrants to come and cry. It was like, oh yeah, it's another one. But, no, but it was overwhelming. It was absolutely overwhelming.
COVID was definitely eye-opening because it was the first time you saw empty shelves
Yeah.
since leaving the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
So-
it was interesting, and I always said, even to my neighbors, when they were saying that, oh my God, there's no toilet paper and no paper towels. What are we gonna do? This is it, the end of the world. I said, it's okay. It's really okay. You can live without toilet paper. It's okay. Things will get better.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I just want to read one quick quote. As you can see, 20 million. Actually, the numbers are a little bit higher lately that archives are opening up. We're discovering the data on a lot of things that were covered up. So I like to show visual aids of what these numbers actually mean. We don't have time to do that right now, but I do want to just leave you with one quote, and this is how I conclude my book. Today, at least 1.5 billion, with a B, people live under communist or socialist rule in countries such as China, Vietnam, North Korea, Laos, Cuba, Nicaragua, Colombia, Venezuela, and others. It's only through a comprehensive education in history, a profound grasp of ethical foundations of liberty and free enterprise, and a deep understanding of America's founding principles that we can empower individuals with the wisdom needed to make enlightened choices in pursuit of human achievement and prosperity. This opportunity for freedom is the very beacon that inspires millions to aspire to immigrate to the United States of America, and we were very lucky to be able to do so. So I like to end with the idea of gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you all for coming this afternoon. There's a sign-in sheet there if you came in this way and weren't able to sign in. But Marina and Mariana Davidovich are here to answer your questions. You're welcome to come on up and speak to them. So thank you so much.
We didn't even
for
talk
coming.
about healthcare.
Oh, I know, we didn't touch about a lot, but I will leave with this QR code. I have a list of ongoing resources that I recommend, movies, podcasts, books, things like that. If you want to scan this QR code, anyone can access it. So, and if you have any questions, we're going to stick around. So
Absolutely.
Thank you again.